Good evening, and welcome to another segment of the New Black Leadership Coalition, right here live in the studios of Intellectual Radio, the studios of Intellectual Radio. And I said that twice because the operative word is intellectual, and not to say that we are just that, but that really means something when we're talking about feeding your brain. My name is Gregory Sane, the host of this show. I am very, very thankful for another day on this planet that we call Earth. I thank the Creator for granting us, blessing us with another day of life, and not just to be alive, but to be in tune with the universe and having the courage and tenacity to really speak truth to power. And today we are very, very fortunate, and I'm honored to have here on the New Black Leadership Media Roundtable, sitting in the studios, a brother and a really, really powerful brother. This brother is from the Crusader newspaper, and he is a writer, but he has an extensive background. Heard some of it before we came on air, and we're going to talk about that. But I want to introduce the other guest, and that is Brother Harold Davis. I think, you know, the butt naked truth, 1570 AM radio, the butt naked truth. And when Brother Harold comes on the air saying, I don't know if he'll say it here because that's his, you know, his thing when he come on, but it is so right on point that it lets you know that they don't take any prisoners whatsoever. So this probably is my friend, Brother Domingo. Mike, you can answer that right there. I think that's the brother on the line right there. But Brother Harold Davis and Brother Eric, it is such a pleasure and honor, man, having you both on the show this evening. How you doing, Brother Eric?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And Brother Harold, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I feel very, very strong this evening.
Yeah. Well, let me just say this. We got a lot of hot topics, man. I don't know where to start, but I promised the people that I would give them a commentary. And in this commentary, is there a few people that I just wanted to, I'm not checking you either. I'm just really letting you know that some of you all were bragging about not supporting the brother Kaepernick. So yesterday, Sunday, I spoke with a few people and I saw some posts on Facebook here and there. You can watch whatever you want, but I'm warning you and I'm telling you with love that that's like being a traitor. Sometimes we need to learn to stand together on something. And the reason why we should stand together on this is because people can do whatever they want to us. But when we collectively decide that we were going to boycott, look, that brother rich, that brother's a millionaire. It ain't about him. It's really about a principle. It's really about the fact that 70% of the workforce in the NFL, 78% are black men. And the ownership is primarily
White billionaires.
So while you busy watching a football game that you can't miss power, you can't miss empire, you can't miss the house idiots of Atlanta. I mean, the housewives of Atlanta, you cannot miss some show. You being entertained in the morning by clowns, comedians, but when it's something relevant. And then I gotta say this to some of the preachers, some of the pastors, you are such a hypocrite that you can load up a truck to send it to Harvey to cry about the people in Florida. And yes, our hearts go out to folks who have lost their life and property and etc. But you're going to take a truck past Inglewood. You're going to take a truck past Harvey, Illinois. You're going to take a truck past the west side of Chicago, Robin, Illinois. You know, Cabrini, well, Cabrini is not there, but where you grew up, Harold? Argyle Gardens. You're going to take trucks and load them up with water and all kind of goods. And then, but you to get on the bandwagon, people. And I said this to you, look, Hurricane Sandra Bland and Hurricane Trayvon Martin. Now they call them what they want. But Marcus Garvey said, when you see me again, look for me in the whirlwind. I'm saying that to you. If you look, share this with, because I want to, these are journalists, these are community activists, these are black men. And this brother, Eric, got an extensive background. And when you hear from them about some of the topics that they have been covering on their shows, in the newspaper, on the radio, in conversation, you're going to get a mouthful tonight. You're going to get a mouthful. But I just wanted to check you. And if you're watching Monday Night Football and you can't go without that, trust me, you are responsible for the destruction of our community, because you can't take a break and mobilize and be on one accord just for one thing. And then you make these silly excuses of why it wouldn't make a difference. You're so silly. And that's why we are struggling as a people today, because some of you always want to break ranks. You broke ranks. And I'm telling the preachers, you broke God ranks when you walked past the poor right here in the city and drove to another city. And some of you, all, as soon as you get out of church, you walk past the poor. So we got to stop playing with God. Anyway, oh, and let me, I'm sorry, I got to make one quick announcement, just one, and then I want to go ahead and let these brothers fill you in with some great information. I want to congratulate this brother, Johnny M. Jackson. You won today the Coon Award, the Uncle Tom Award from your post. I told them today, he's listening, that his this brother, he had the audacity to criticize all the people who decided not to watch the NFL. And he bragged about, I'm watching it. And so one of the sisters, Rosetta, you know Rosetta?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You right?
Yeah.
She was on him back and forth. I just want you to know, brother, that you are the winner. You know, I said I was going to announce it every week. Mm-hmm. Somebody's going to win that award. And I know Harold said, I know some people should have won that award, where we could name them, you know, next week and the week after. But anyway, y'all laughed at that, and I'm laughing because a little laughter is good for the soul. It's sad, but yet, you know, it's funny that Johnny, what's your name? Johnny M. Jackson, congratulations again. So anyway, brother, Miami.
Yeah, a lot to swallow, I tell you what, you open.
But go ahead now. You were saying that you worked at Miami.
I was at the Miami Times. I was a city editor there. You know, covered Miami, covered its political, social landscape there. Did that for a few years. Before that, I did work at a NBC station in Rockford, another station in Youngstown, Ohio. I have a degree and bachelor's degree in journalism at the University of Miami.
That's excellent, brother. Excellent. Well, welcome to
Thank you. I'm happy
the
to be
new
here.
Black leadership, which you are a leader, and we want to hear from you regarding some of the, just tell us before we go to Harold, what are some of the things you've been writing about that is going on right now? I mean, I'm sure folks are focusing in on the political season.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, obviously the governor's race between Bruce Rauner and J.B. Pritzker. I mean, obviously he took up Juliana Stratton, as you know, who is his running mate as a ticket. We're getting word that, Andrea Zopp, who is the mayor's deputy, first deputy, may be running as Chris Kennedy's running mate. Now, that's going to be like an interesting dynamic because, as you know, Zopp ran and unsuccessfully ran against Tammy Duckworth for the U.S. Senate, but obviously she lost that. But I don't know, the Black community, as far as Andrea Zopp, may be feeling a little, betrayed because she worked for a very unpopular mayor, as you know, Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who's not really popular in the Black community right now. And of course, she was one of several on the Board of Education who voted to close 50 schools. Many of them were in the Black community. So very interesting move if that happens.
You know what's more interesting about that? Everybody choosing a Black woman.
Right.
A Black woman to be their running mate. So what is that all about?
That's all about because Black women have emerged as a key game changer in the field of politics. Black women have become very loyal. If you notice that when Trump was running against Hillary Clinton, she appealed heavily to the Black women voter. She got mothers of the quote unquote movement. Sandra Bland's mother, Geneva Reveal, Trayvon Martin's mother, mothers whose sons were killed by police. So she really catered to that, So I think it is a good point. Andrea Zopp, the Black woman, and Black women, they are very known as very loyal voters who really turn out to vote, but they're really gaining in high numbers. So that's why, they're doing that because, they're really trying to win a key part of the Black vote that can truly be a game changer in this election.
Wow. Brother Harold, what's going on, man? The butt naked truth.
Hey, brother, it's it's interesting that that Chris Kennedy is picking Zopp. I think, I think, Greg, when Hillary Clinton got 95% of the Black female vote, Black women control 85% of every dollar in the Black community. And so Black women are, they spend more money on Hennessy than anybody. They spend more money on designer clothes than anybody in the world. They buy more luxury cars than anybody in the world. And so when you have 85% of your spending revenue by Black women, which comes about $1.2 trillion, and there's no such thing as the Essence Awards say Black females have all this spending power. There's no such thing as spending power or purchasing power. The fact of the matter is that who you give your money to is who you give your power to. And the unfortunate part about them looking past us, in terms of the political things with J.B. Pritzker and Chris Kennedy and what's the boy, Ronna, he got a Hispanic girl. But remember when they were begging Pat Quinn to put a Black lieutenant, governor there, he refused to do it. And I think they learned something because this governor's race is going to be won by Cook County. I mean, so we got how many registered voters in Chicago that are Black? About 800,000. And so the problem is in the last mayoral election, only 19% voted. Right there in the Sophie King over there in Hyde Park was very popular, 32,000 registered voters.
And of course, another Black woman.
I think only 3,500.
Wow.
Voters.
Yeah.
And so people are winning these elections with 16%, 19%. I mean, the last governor's race, 16% of the Black people voted. And so, I mean,
just 16%.
Just 16%. And so they're looking at those numbers and saying, well, if 84% are staying home, then, I mean, if you look at these automatic races where some of these wards have 28,000, 29,000, 30,000 registered voters, and only 24, 2,500 are showing up. In the city of Harvey, Kellogg won that election with 1,300 people showing up to vote. Right. I think he got 900 votes. And so black people, I think black people are starting to say, well, there's two wings, one bird, this Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. Two wings, one bird. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not showing any difference when it comes down to them getting together. 90 Republicans voted against the $8 billion package for Houston. I mean, for Texas, 90 Republicans voted against it. So Trump said, well, I'll go on the Democrats and bring them in. And so Trump, being a real estate mongo and understanding construction, do you realize how many millionaires are going to be made with this $8 billion? And, you know, all kind of money is going to be coming to Houston from all over the world. But look at all the money that's going to be made. But the Democrats got with Trump and say, $78 billion. What, out of the U.S. Senate, the average wealth in the U.S. Senate is $17 million. The average wealth for a congressman is $4.5 million. So you got rich people making decisions for poor people, and they really don't care. Maxine Waters can care less about what's happening in her district. She's sitting in a $4.5 million house. All she do is talk about what Trump ain't doing. She's 80 years old, and she really, I mean, at some point in time, Greg, you know, black people got to stop being fooled by this political stuff. I mean,
yeah, we the only
ones that get nothing.
But you know,
get nothing.
It's a good point, you know. But it's also, you know, the question is also raised is, have we as black people, male or female, learned our lesson by allowing Ronner to be voted into the state's highest office as governor? You know, after all that has happened, he hijacked, you know, the education funding bill. We didn't have a budget, as you know, a state budget for 2 years. A lot of bills went unpaid. A lot of clinics closed, health clinics closed. Yeah. Institutions such as Chicago State suffered. They had mass layoffs. I'm thinking that looking at all this, all these high profile, all these highly publicized moves that Ronner made, you know, I'm hoping just from a distance that blacks are really taking a look at this and say, you know what, hey, I need to get involved in a political process, not just on a state level, but now even on a federal, a national level with Trump involved. Now you see how much damage you can cause by not going to vote. You know, you can say, you know, hey, this is going to, but did you vote? If you did not vote, then you might as well just be quiet, because you were the reason why he's, you know, Ronner and Trump are in office. But as far as the black woman, I mean, that is really going to be a really critical component in the race for governor. You know, I really do see that, because women have really emerged as key game changers in the political process. If you think about, look at it, Toni Preckwinkle, you know, it was she who put up Juliana Stratton to defeat Ken Duncan, you know, and of course, Kim Foxx, who unseated Anita Alvarez, you know, another powerful black woman. You know, the signs are all there. They're all there. It's all written.
The signs are there for that, and then the destruction of the black man.
Right.
But today, I'm talking to the young black boy, and yet, and trust me, we honor black women.
Right.
We love our black women, but they use black women.
Right.
They use black women in a way that some of them not aware. And I think some of them, believe me when I say this, they so egotistical. They are not in this for the struggle of black people, more so political power. I get it. But one of the things, bro, and you know, I get where you going, but we had a conversation right in the studio, and Minister Mike and I conversation with our political strategist, the brother that that's over our political committee. One of them that's, the head of that, Bomani Obadeli, about organizing our vote. Voting is one thing, but when it's unorganized, then how many people gonna listen to Mark Wallace and use that strategy to open up some doors where our interest would be there versus just because we the only ones that I see black preachers standing behind politicians. But you was getting ready to say something, Errol.
Well,
and then we go back, Eric, we go back and
talk
forth.
About, Ronna being governor, you had 3 black people that supported him openly, who had people know who they are: James Meeks, Corey Brooks, and Herman Hartman. And so
they still supporting him?
Well, I don't know, but you can't get a hold of James Meeks. Corey Brooks is not.
Hold on, what you mean? You can't get a hold of him?
He's the chairman of the Board of Education. And
I haven't heard one thing from him.
He ain't said nothing. You can't get a hold of Brooks. Brooks is saying,
he's not on the building.
He got
off the roof. Oh,
but I think he's been off that roof
for a while. But Ronna, Ronna took out over 1,000 black mom and pop daycares. 70,000 black children lost slots. Yeah, Rahm closed 53 schools. But if you look at those schools, Greg, it's still about 46 of them that are for sale. Now, those schools can be automatically a youth center. Got swim pool in them, got a lunchroom, got classrooms, got auditoriums. I mean, so it's up to us to say, okay, we got these 40-something schools that are still closed, still for sale. And then what are we gonna do with it? And so Greg, and I know that some of those schools right now today got 200 kids in them, or less. They're gonna close another 50, 7,500 schools because the children are not there. So when they did the charter schools and the alternative schools, those kids that were in Inglewood that ended up at some of the charters and some of the alternative schools, well, that left the public schools with nothing. I mean, so
in Iowa, you know how many black folks have migrated to Iowa, have migrated to Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Indiana because the cost of living in those areas, and some of them have been smart enough to place their children in a safer environment because Iowa,
right,
and not the mess that their children are going through in the inner cities, especially right now because of the climate in Chicago.
But what's happening in Chicago, what's happening with these big, large public school systems such as Chicago, it's happening all over. It's happening in Detroit. It's happening in New York. All these big public school systems, are having these funding problems. Why? Because a lot of these students, are now minorities. Either they're black or Hispanics. White parents are taking their kids out of these schools and they're putting them in charter schools. Charter schools have had a devastating impact on most of these public school systems. If you don't believe me, Gary, Indiana is a perfect example. The system is $110 million in debt. The state of Indiana just took over this year, early this year, took over the entire Gary school system because it had consistently F grades and it was that much in debt. They did not see that there is no way the school system could bail themselves out.
So is this all by design? Yeah, is it by design? Because all of a sudden, so we end up talking about the breakdown of the family. By the way, if you want to get in this conversation, you're more than welcome. 708-223-8953. 708-223-8953. And if you're watching via Facebook Live, please share this. Turn off that television from that football. They all winners. And no matter if they lose, they won because they get a check. And they go out there to practice. But go ahead. What you gonna say?
You got a public school system here in Chicago where the average ACT score is 16. 93% of the kids that are graduating from Chicago public schools have to take remedial courses. They're going to be 7 years in undergrad trying to graduate. And so you got a system, Greg, that should have been shut down a long time ago, because all it has produced is what we see today.
So do we blame this on, look,
That's our fault.
Yes, so the New Black Leadership Coalition is a result and a spirit and a wave and a timely movement, because the leadership that we currently have, would you agree or disagree, have not tended to the flock. The flock has been tending to themselves. There's no shepherds.
There's no shepherd.
There's no shepherd. I mean, the shepherd live. You said it. You said the shepherd lives in the suburb and the sheep live in the city.
Tim King boasting for the last 6 years that he sends 100% of those boys to college. When the Tribune asked him, well, where's the first group 2 years ago that graduated, that should have been graduated from college, he wouldn't answer the question, because he knew that if those boys didn't get the resources they need with an average ACT of 16 grade, when the average white child is coming in with an ACT of 24, then you are ill-equipped to even compete at any level. And so when they give him the accolades of him saying that I sent 100% of my children get accepted, and he said accepted. Okay, 2 years ago the Tribune said, well, where are these boys at now? He wouldn't answer, because he know that 95% of them are no longer in college because they're ill-equipped, grade, to come in with an ACT of 16, and then their counterparts is coming in college sometimes efficiency out of maybe 12 or 14 or 16 college hours that they come in with a whole semester, and then you come in taking math 101, rhetoric 104, which rhetoric is an English class that they only give black kids. And so when you look at the system and saying, well, how can they keep producing these this product? If General Motors, Greg, or just say Ford, if Ford had 93% of their product was no good or didn't meet the standards, how long would Ford be in business? If 93% of our children that are graduating out of these schools have to go to and take remedial courses, then it is something wrong. I mean, you go to some of these, you go to North Side, you've been, and those white people over on the North Side, they don't ask CPS, can they take the school over? They take it over. First, they play classical music all day. At Nettlehurst, they don't have the classic lunchroom food from Airmark, which is the same food that they give prisons in America. Airmark is in over 600 prisons, the same food. Those white people went in there and said, this ain't healthy for our children. So we're going to do what? We're going to decide what they eat for lunch. So those white females that at home that are mothers, you know, while the husband is out, the same thing we can do, Greg. But the problem with us is the sisters, or you know, since the brothers are not there, the sisters see the school as a babysitting thing.
Right. So, but going back to my question.
Yeah.
So in every challenge in our community, because you got the school system, but then we got the church, we got the home, we got the political system. Current, I mean, where's the voice? Where's the direction? See, we got people that they have picked out for us to lead us, but they're not talking about freedom.
No.
They're not talking about justice.
No.
They're not talking about equality. So how do we, I mean, we ain't gonna concentrate on being knocking down some of the people that we know have been hustlers. You know, they are not giving black people direction. They don't work together. They ain't supporting a great journalist like this brother. They ain't supporting a great businessman and journalist like yourself. They ain't supporting a motivator like Minister Mike, myself, and others. They not supporting activists. So we got another group out front. All of this is taking place, but they quiet. They quiet, and then they pick the topics for us. business-wise.
Mhm.
We got a produce place called the Food Hub on 75th Street.
Healthy
How
Food
many
Hub.
folks, the Healthy Food Hub, right?
Mhm.
How many churches, how many pastors send their congregation over there to get fresh produce?
0. And it's right in the middle of a food desert. We went to Inglewood with Hal Baskin this Saturday, and we opened up the food hub there. We were on the west side 2 weeks ago on Central and Lake. And so the problem is, Greg, when we got there with the food at Hal Baskin's, that food was gone in 15 minutes. I mean,
Why?
when we got the truck there, the line was already down Peoria, and in 15 minutes, brother, the food was gone because the people said there's no way we can't afford whole food prices. And so we gave them a price that we knew was affordable, black farmers. And so in 15 minutes, Greg, we were sold out.
Did you say black farmers?
Yeah, black farmers. Everything was picked Friday, the greens, the corn, everything that we had was picked Friday. We bought it over there Saturday. We were on Central and Lake 2 weeks ago. So we've expanded the Healthy Food Hub to Central and Lake, 325 South California, Hal Baskin in Inglewood at St. Stephen's, and over there at 2423 East 75th Street. On the west side, the food was gone in 30 minutes. I mean, these people, Greg, when they saw the greens didn't have no holes in them. I mean, that meant they had no worms in them.
Wow.
When they saw the leaves that big.
Well, but look, answer this, both of you all. Answer this, both of you all. If we got mega churches that have 3 services, I don't know how many people that adds up to be. But there's no store.
No store.
There's no
Nothing.
business. So how could, see, I believe me, I'm strictly into practicality. So how can we feed the poor? How can we be a representative of, since we like to play with this entity, how could we feed the poor if we don't have anything to feed them with?
Let me share this. I've been to cities all over the country. Into a city like Chicago that has so many black leaders, from clergy to political. You have 17, 18 aldermen.
Teacher.
And to see these neighborhoods look like this.
Oof.
You have a neighborhood, you have Bronzeville, and on State Street, you have this huge tennis facility that's opening up. It's massive. Around the block at Washington Park, you have these decrepit tennis courts, one after the other. Is there really a need for that?
Well,
at the same time, there is such a critical shortage for affordable housing. What is tennis courts gonna do for Bronzeville? Can we just keep it real?
Yeah, bro.
I mean, let's
the butt naked truth.
That brother who's building that facility, that young lady, Sloan Stephen, who won, came from under his tutelage. And so I understand what you're saying in terms of a priority. But remember, the Salvation Army wanted to put something there, but Dorothy Tillman wouldn't let them. And
why not?
I don't know, for whatever reason. But the tennis facility, I believe, and it's humongous. But I believe some good things are going to come out, because for the first time in history, there were 4 black girls playing.
I just wish that when they become superstars and they get their name out there and they make the magazines, they make the money.
Will they come back?
Will they come back? And when I say come back, I'm talking about like Marcus Garvey.
Right.
I'm talking about where you don't let people separate you from the everyday struggle of poor people.
You know what Garvey did, Greg, when Garvey found out that the country state Liberia needed $2 million. Garvey went to them and said, I can raise the money. So in 1925, Harry Firestone comes and say he could raise the money. So Garvey goes back before the board of directors in Liberia in 1925, and he says, well, let me raise the money. So the whoever was in charge back then, the black board of directors or whoever, the governors, whoever they were, they took Garvey's proposal and pushed it to the side and took Harry Firestone's proposal. And so in the meantime, between time, Harry Firestone paid for the demise of Marcus Garvey. He funded the move to get these charges. He paid for the lawyers, he paid for everybody. So in the meantime, between time, Harry Firestone's deal with the Liberian government was for 100 years. It does not fulfill itself until 2027. And in that 100-year deal, it has 1 million acres of rubber trees for 100 years. His family still control, even though they don't own it. Bridgestone now owns Firestone, which is owned by the Japanese. But at the end of the day, Greg, 100-year, Garvey said from the prisons in 1926, Garvey said to them, he said, what has happened today is the beginning of white supremacy taking over the continent of Africa by this deal that they signed in 1926 to give Harry Firestone 1 million acres of rubber trees that deal lasts all the way to 2027. Imagine Harry Firestone's children's children.
Oh yeah, all of them.
Children.
Generational wealth.
It was so
my question is, and Eric, I want you to Domity Pongo in the studio live, former VON now WGN News.
Oh, he's big time.
Big time, brother.
Big time.
But I got a bold question yeah. So right. Oh no, brother. No, that's all right. Your timing is fine. We'll take what you got. Now, Dr. Martin Luther King.
Yes, sir.
Malcolm X. Name them. I mean, it's so many. The Honorable Minister Farrakhan now. I can't name some of the other folks because I said this in a meeting, and I'm connecting this to Marcus Garvey, what you just said. But brothers, this is a bold statement, but one that you gotta begin to look at. We got people who say they with the movement, but they wear wires. They work for the government. Can our community survive like this? Are we just pissing in the wind? If there is a revolution that I'm talking about, is some drastic change.
But now we're talking about human nature, right? Just the nature of humans. I mean, if you have a Caesar, you have a Brutus. If you got a Jesus, you got a Judas. You know what I mean? There is. I was just having this conversation. You know what I mean?
Woe to the, what'd you call it, Harold? What'd you say, Harold, on your show? Woe to the what?
Well, to
the shepherd.
To the shepherd who mislead the sheep.
It's
That's
true.
biblical.
No, and the reason I'm saying is, can you take what we talking about and leave out the spiritual piece?
No.
And we looked at making progress, yet we're not firmly grounded spiritually.
Absolutely.
So no matter what we do politically, no matter what we claim educationally, it's gonna fail because the damn foundation ain't there.
Every story of the Bible, Greg, where the book of Judges, the book of Kings, and you look at those stories, and most of the stories said that the citizens took on the attitude of the king. And so if the king had a warped sense of, behavior, then the citizens thought it was okay. When Amos came and to warn the Israelis about what was happening to them, and Amos basically said that these rich people had houses that they couldn't, they had so many houses, they had so much money.
Rauner got 10,
right?
11.
And he said that they were selling the people for a pair of sandals. And he said that they were taking the people houses in court because the people couldn't defend themselves. And so when you look at the book of Amos and you see all the prophecy there, it's exactly what's happening today, that the weak and the poor are being trampled because they can't defend themselves.
Woo. And the reason why I put it in that context, because are we spinning our wheels? When I talked about new black leadership and we had the round table, the quarterly round table, do you realize, man, that people make excuses not to make massive progress? You know, we look at Houston right now. There's some people going to become billionaires from misery. We look at Florida. People jump on the bandwagon, but when you look at the murder rate in Chicago, and you look at the fact, and I know all of us grew up with what they call mentors, or we had positive role models in the community. We had 16-inch softball.
Honestly, I didn't have any. They're real. I was born in a housing project in Miami, and to me, honestly, my role model was just to get out of there. Just to get out of there. Every day
That's a motivating factor.
Every day I had to pass through this section called the hole. And there was
damn, we got a hole too. Damn.
It was nothing but drugs. It was nothing but violence.
Wow.
It was something I had to face every day. Reality staring at my face every day. I was called names. Sometimes I was robbed. I mean, but I just kept at it. Got my scholarship in high school. Went to school. I mean, it's
but look at the percentage. But look at the percentage. Right. You were and I gotta say this. I'm sorry to cut you off, but God blessed you, bro, to have this resilience and this determination. Now you look at the young brothers today, and I mean, however you came up with this plan in your mind to go and finish school and get past the adversities and etc. You are one that have to go inside the schools and talk to the little brothers. And when they hear your story, then you could give them a recipe to success.
But you know what kept me going, though? I love to read and I love history, because I think that if you cannot understand your past, you will not have a future.
That's a fact.
I read stories like John H. Johnson, who with just $500 mortgaged his mom's furniture and it built a media empire. Crashed one of the most prominent streets in Chicago, Michigan Avenue, and just put Ebony Jet right there. And he became one of the richest black men. In fact, he was the first black man on the Forbes 500 list at an estimated wealth of $600 million. He did this at a time when there were few economic opportunities for blacks. He did this at a time when a lot of whites, orchestrated restrictive covenants in many neighborhoods. And he even had a white man front him to get that property over there on Michigan Avenue. You hear story after story from John H. Johnson, Madam C.J. Walker, Earl Graves. You hear it over and over again. Black people who had nothing, absolutely nothing to start with, and built a massive fortune. Well, the sad part about it is
it's gone.
The sad part about it is we have more opportunities, even though we are at times are hard for blacks, but we have more opportunities to succeed nowadays with so many resources. And if only we look to the past and say, you know what, our people were people of faith, were people who knew that they can succeed despite the odds. I don't get it when you cannot get up, go vote, go to a city hall meeting, learn who your alderman is, call him or her accountable before you do it, go to school. I mean, it's just so many opportunities.
But Eric, faith without work is dead. We got more faith than we're willing to work. Go ahead.
If I may, I was thinking about you talked about the foundation. And so the foundation, not being spiritually grounded, but also think about lineage. Like I think about the people you named, Earl Graves, John Johnson, John Rogers, or Madam C.J. Walker. And then I think about who, younger generation, younger people look up to.
Right.
So if they don't read, who are they seeing? They're listening to the rappers.
And that's
those are their only examples. Yep. But if we are able to take back the power of our message and the power of the voice that hip hop has, because I remember it's a Jay-Z line. And I heard of Mansa Musa, we the richest African, the richest man on earth for a time. It was African. So it's in our lineage to know how to carry wealth and manage money and acquire these types of things we're talking about, right? Jay-Z said it in the song with Jay Electronica, Mansa Musa. And I started those guys who didn't go to college that I still hang with, those are my friends who said, who's Mansa Musa? All they have to do is spark that light. Let them know. They said, why would Jay-Z compare himself to that? He's the richest black man I ever known. Nah. You dig what I'm saying? So it's about our messaging. Mm-hmm. They say, I mean, if the lion never learns to write, the story is always going to go off out a hunter. We've been hunted for so long, we've lost the control of our message.
Oh yeah. You go ahead, Harold.
Yeah, well, Johnson had the only high-rise building in America owned by a black man, but now Columbia College owns it. Johnson blocked the richest man during the time that Reggie Lewis was alive. Johnson refused to do a story on Reggie Lewis because Reggie Lewis bought the Butterick pattern from up under his nose. And so he deprived black children of ever hearing about Reggie Lewis, who was the first black billionaire that ever lived. And because he was angry at Reggie, because Reggie went in and bought Butterick for $1 million and sold it for 90 million. And so when you talk about Johnson, and then you see the remnants of Johnson, you see 45 million pictures now have been sold to Time Warner. Whatever happened over there is just a remnant of what it was, because his daughter did not follow the fact that this stuff was all computerized now and everything, and then people wasn't buying magazines. But if you notice, Greg, that when after Johnson in his later years, Ebony and Jet just became a magazine for rich people and the lives of how black people live.
Wait, look,
rich folks.
It's like
and it
BET.
lost its way.
Right, it's like the BET Awards. Why are we lying to people calling it the BET Awards? Right. Exactly. We don't own what's the name of the play? Viacom on there. So they bring out, what's her name? She takes a bow and come on in. She's
Deborah Lee.
Deborah Lee is a manager.
Deborah Lee.
I mean, yeah, black girls rock, but stop lying. Your rock is us together.
Remember, it was Deborah Lee, Kathy Hughes, and the other sister.
But it's a joke, and they bring the same clowns on. You ain't gonna remember. You ain't gonna see this.
It was Deborah Lee
all around
who bought Snoop Dogg out with the chains around the necks of the sisters acting like dogs, and she said out her own mouth, as long as they want to see that, that's what I'm gonna give them.
I like the girl, and y'all go ahead, but I like the sister. I think she a beautiful sister, Cookie. But I watched this episode because I don't watch the garbage, but I just happened to be someplace and it was on, and Cookie, she dressing all provocative. Why you rock? Damn it, you ain't got to do that if you really rock. But I got a question for all of you all. Who? Because I'm gonna tell you my opinion, but who is the most powerful black man in America right now? And you could determine what power is. It could, some people think power is being influential. Some people think it's money. Some people that I believe is knowledge. But I just want to ask you all, and who could lead black people, or who already are leading black people, guiding black, where do we run to? Do we all leave here tonight and stay together, or do we put in a conversation out there for somebody else to organize? Or are we waking up the people so that they're not just entertained by radio people or television people? Are we part of the movement? Go ahead.
I think those people is every black man who has knowledge of self. Like, those are the most powerful black. It's about a collective. I don't like that communities look like we need a person to lead us as a herd, right? I mean, we all lead our tribes. You got your family unit, then it goes out to your household, your community, then your neighborhood, then your city, state, and it expands out, right? What we need to do, just expand that sphere of influence. What does that circle look like? And affect as many as we can, because there isn't a man I can name that 100% leads me. That's God. And that's the same for you, for you all. That's people that you follow. The men that you respect, the men that you learn from, that mentor you, that give you wisdom. But there's never, and so I don't think a nation should have that ideology either.
Ask Kennedy and ask Pritchett and all them who they leaders are. I mean, they'll tell you, you know what I'm saying? I mean, at the end of the day,
I could have saved a lot of words.
Roger Goodell.
Let me get a pen and paper.
Well, Roger Goodell, right? Roger Goodell. His daddy became the U.S. Senator once when
Absolutely.
Robert Kennedy got killed. His daddy.
Yeah.
And so Roger Goodell makes $70 million a year doing absolutely nothing. NFL 78% black. 2 years ago, we forced the NFL to come to a meet and greet, because they were coming here to have a draft. Peter O'Reilly flew in here, who makes about $30 million a year, and told us basically they didn't have any black people doing any business in the whole NFL out of 32 teams. They had 2 licenses that they were looking at. 78% NFL black. They made last year $45 billion. Roger Goodell makes $70 million a year. And so when you look at, okay, well, 31 of the 32 teams are owned by billionaires. The only team that's not owned by billionaires is Green Bay. It's owned by a collective of the fans, which has a net worth of about 1.1 billion. But there are 31 billionaires that have decided that Kaepernick, though he made $130 million in 8 years, that's the distraction. The issue is 78% of the NFL black, and we don't do any business in that $45 billion entity.
Wow.
Well, I'm going to answer that question. Who's the most powerful black man? And it's reality. I believe that it's Michael Jordan.
It's money-wise.
Money-wise.
Influence.
And influence. I mean, absolutely. And they go hand in hand. And it says a lot because our culture now on sports, athletes play. You don't hear anything about, this black scientist or this black composer or this, that. Sports is on a pedestal in American culture. I mean, look at it. Hurricane Irma dropped by Miami, Florida. Okay. WTBJ, NB6 down there, preempted hurricane coverage and just showed a football game. Sunday night football game. That's how important sports is in America right now. How really important it is in the black community is on a whole new level. Michael Jordan retired years ago. You have millennials who did not even know Michael Jordan, who didn't even grow up, who didn't even see him, play ball, in Chicago, and they're buying his shoes left and right. Last week, he just debuted a 32nd model Air Jordan in Italy. And then at the same time, to me, it was eye-opening when he sued Safeway. Dominic's used his likeness for an ad to steaks.
Right.
He won $8 million. And
that
gave it to charity. How many black men do you know have that much pull, have that much power, have that much money where they can just give it away to charity, who will say something and you just command an audience like
I know one thing, he owed me some damn money because I walked him out of Cliff Livingston club called, what was the name of that club up north?
What about Philip Knight, who owns Nike? And Nike's acronym means to me, niggas is killing each other. I've never had any respect for Michael Jordan, never have, never will, because of the fact that when his sister wrote that book about their daddy raping them, he said, if you put the book out, I ain't gonna help none of your kids go to college. She put the book out and it says, in my family's shadow. And she asked her mother, where did you think James was going when he left your bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and got into bed with me and got the girl pregnant? And so Michael Jordan, has he ever spoke out against anything? When Larry Bird signed off on starter jackets and them little white kids got killed, he said, I got to take my name off there. How many young brothers in the 80s and 90s got killed wearing Air Jordans? And he never opened his mouth. Mm-hmm. So to me, the only influence that I see where people will listen is Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah, I mean, now that's the most knowledgeable black man on the planet by far. He has no equal. And I noticed that we did not name some of the hustlers. Although the hustlers are brilliant men, they just got corrupt. Right. And had they stayed on point, they would be mentioned in this conversation, like the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. But because they got corrupt and they took the misery of black people and became millionaires themselves while people suffer. That's why I asked that question, because the New Black Leadership Coalition is a real living body of individuals like yourselves, men and women. Our coalition is made up of principled individuals that believe real progress of black people. So as you said, voting is a part of it, but not out in space. Because we voted for Barack Obama and people bragged and we wanted symbol versus substance.
Yeah.
And guess what? And at this very time that I'm talking, his voice is quiet.
Too quiet.
Too quiet. And you were the president, the most powerful, that's what they said. But I go back and watch The Godfather. And my man said in the end, whoever comes up to you and try to make a deal, that's the traitor.
That's right.
And so in the black community, we got to study The Godfather because in our community, we have folks, and you said, Eric said it earlier, you said it, and it was funny when you said that he ain't on the roof no more, Corey Brooks. But we got a bunch of pop-up little guys running around the city right now.
But what did Pat Hill say about them? What did she say about
Oh, and bless her heart, Pat, we love you, and we know your spirit is here.
She's with her maker.
Yes, love you, Pat.
Pat Hill said that Jamal Green, Lamar Ricord, Jedediah Brown, also known as Daryl Eugene Coleman. Pat Hill said that they had been in a training house up on the north side by the University of Chicago for 2 years.
What?
And she said, she was very adamant about it. She said, we can't trace them back to nobody but to the University of Chicago. And so Jedediah Brown, his name is Daryl Eugene Coleman. We had his cousin on the radio show, Greg. She said, I don't even know who Jedediah Brown is. I know my grandmother and my mother and his mother named him Daryl Eugene Coleman. So who is Jedediah Brown?
One thing though, bro, you cannot go through what you said you went through and driving like that and say you want to run for mayor. You know, people gonna want to know the first thing the news people is gonna say is, where's your medical records? Let's see exactly, are you on medication now, or was that you having a moment?
What name would his petitions be filed under? Because
but see, that's why I said that, is because we got, and see, and as serious as Eric is about collectively, just as Mike said, using our vote, we don't have time for people playing
games.
Damn games.
No time,
when in fact, if we gonna use that as part, that's one of the components, then we don't have time for people. And brothers, you can run all you like. I'm not mad at you, but I'm disappointed when you breaking ranks, when you know how serious it is. But you was gonna say, Eric?
No, keep going. I just lost my train of thought.
So good. But because the pop-ups, you know, it's just sad that because there's misdirecting the movement.
Who can you trace them to? I mean, you can trace me to Lou Myers. You can trace me to Steve Coakley. You can trace me to Khalid Muhammad. Who I can trace you to the same people.
Oh, absolutely.
I can trace this brother. Who can I trace them to? I mean, the question is, who can validate them? The only person validating them is the valet at the parking lot. That's it.
And that's why I said what I said earlier. I know we only have a few minutes left, but that's why I said earlier about power. And I mean, I love both of those conversations about Jordan or Jay-Z and Kathy Hughes or Deborah Lee, etc. Reason why, bro, is because the media, like the scribes, can have us distracted, and our conversations and energy. I mean, honestly, I'm very, very sad about that young sister because it made the news of is that what was her name? Kanika Jenkins. Yeah. I mean, I don't know enough about that to really talk about it, but it's sad and sick that when you look at the condition of our people, and then we worried about some damn football game.
Well, let me say this too, and this is why, just to make sure I'm clear on my idea of what leadership is. When you're talking about the new black leadership, what I loved about it, you used the key word, coalition. A coalition of leaders within that sphere. You know what I'm saying? And there can be order within that leadership, but it's got to be a so while there were people who had all these political aspirations, or while we hustling and figuring out how to make it and doing all of these things, there were people who were mentoring not only Miss Jenkins, but friends of hers that she was hanging out with that were overlooking them as they pursue whatever thing was their personal aim.
Wow.
So how are we mentoring the people that are right next to us? They're Kanikas hanging with us. The little black girls going without fathers. Those of us who have found ourselves and figured ourselves out,
that's right.
We got to be surrogate fathers to them and figure out how to mentor all of these people. And that's the type of leadership we need in the community. Then it spreads and sprouts out.
If my people who are called by my name will first humble themselves, then pray. Your prayers, your efforts, all of that, as long as we got these egos, and I love the word, and I steal a lot from Minister Mike, but when he talk about what is it, Mike? You go narcissism.
Yes.
That is the most dangerous spirit in some of these folks, bro, that claim to be leading our people. They stuck. And I mean, 18 of this. We got so-and-so there. We got this many people here. So-and-so come from Chicago. We got all of this.
What a grocery store.
But what a grocery store.
Like
What
I
a
said,
grocery store.
we own Central and Lake. We went to Inglewood. Harry Rose, who has a $25 million grant in Inglewood, has kept us out of Inglewood. We finally got in Inglewood now. And so we're not begging people. We're being the model. We got a healthy food hub on 2423 East 75th Street. We at 65th and Peoria. We at Central and Lake, and soon to be at 325 South California. Black farmers, real black farmers. Me and Fred from Black Oaks combine our farms together. And so we're bringing stuff in, and we're not begging nobody to feed us, man.
Because we ain't gonna make it. Where can people
do it ourselves?
Where can people read your articles, and when do they come out? Your
ChicagoCrusader.com. They come out every Thursday. The paper comes out. Every Thursday, but they can read my articles 7 days a week. They're
great. And Brother Harold?
Well, nigga, true. Tuesday through Friday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., 1570 a.m. WBGX.
Boy, they don't take no prisoners. Brother Domingue.
Yeah. So I'm actually doing an event this week. As we talk about these, I want to talk about solutions on Wednesday. And that's why I put on my phone. I was like, as you talked about how we can build this, I want to give a solution. We're talking about economic ecosystems Wednesday at 405 West Superior with the Diversity Digital Network.
Wow.
Moderating a conversation with Nicole Pinkert, who started U Media in the basement of the Harold Washington Library. There are programs right there like projectors.org, PRO-Jectors. They're teaching young people 13 to 23, whatever they're interested in. You mentor these students, let them know about this industry, you lead them, you mentor them. She started that. So I'm talking to that sister this week. But I just want to say, just get to that solution. That's all it is.
Can you pass me that? And I want to end the show with this. Pass me this. I want to end the show with this. And the reason why is because when we talk about Black media and we talk about people giving other people an opportunity, the producer and the owner of this network got an award, Buzz Zen Off in Media Award, presented to Brother Earl Winfrey. Give it up for Brother Earl Winfrey, baby. Winner. All right. In appreciation for your outstanding dedication to your community. Now, I said that because this man go out of his way to give Black folks a media to put information out there, and we develop a strong relationship with him because it's needed.
Yes.
And I said that because, you know, sometimes we always go where we not wanted.
Right.
You hear what I just said?
Yeah,
we go where we not wanted. Here, we're able to express ourselves and have a place. And that's why, and I want to say this, brother, we didn't pray, but God is with us.
Yes.
And we are not just angry at white people or Negroes. We are frustrated because we know this is not the way we should be living.
Exactly.
Got nothing to do with your color. It has everything to do with your spirit, man. And if you ain't in pain, and if you don't feel something from what you are witnessing in the world, and that's why I tell people, you can never blame anybody sitting at this table that we racist, that we don't like so-and-so. No, we are frustrated and disappointed with people who try to break the ranks, will stay in disarray, and we will not be able to grab our community back to where it belongs. That's what the butt naked truth is about. That's what Eric writes about in the Crusade. That's why Domity Pongo is doing great things. And that's why Gregory saying don't take no damn prisoners. I call a spade a spade. And that's why we got what we call a founder like Minister Mike and other members of the new Black leadership homes. Bro, when Harold said, well, we can go back, the minister found him. As a 17-year-old, I think, something like that. Were you 17? 16. 16, bro. And I'm saying that because everybody need a mentor. Everybody needs some guidance. And then don't take no damn credit, because we are all standing on the shoulders
of somebody else.
Bro. Absolutely. And that's why each one teach one. Give back. Stop just being out there in space with your little games that you playing, misdirecting our people. Man, come and unify, and let's become one again. Or stop mentioning Dr. King and Malcolm X and Jesus, because they were all about. And I know the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, and I know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I know Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth and Denmark VC and Gable Prosser. All of those people, man, was about liberation.
You know, Madam Joyner came.
Love you, Dick Gregory.
Came from Madam C.J. Walker's camp. Madam Joyner came from there. I mean, she was the second person up under her.
Wow.
I drove past her house the other day, Domity, and there was a for sale sign there. Damn. Right there on 56 and Wabash on the corner. I went in that lady's house, Greg, and she had pictures of 5 presidents that she had. The lady died when she was like 98 years old. She was the Defender Charities chairman. But man, she had a museum in her house, and I have no idea where the pictures are or all the things that she had. I saw that they had a for sale sign in front of the house last week. Just like the boy out there in Markham, Robbins, Fuller, his house is for sale. I mean, so we don't deem it necessary or important. When Rosa Parks on that bus, when they asked those Negroes, they said, y'all gonna have the bus for $5,000. They said we didn't have the money. So they had to go get a replica. It's not even the real bus. So we don't even see the importance of preserving those that have this history, like Madam Joyner, who came right up from under Madam C.J. Walker, and S.B. Fuller, who was probably the first Black millionaire in the country.
May I ask the question?
Yes, sir.
What's your wisdom? I hate to cut you off, but you got me on the line of thinking, and I would love to. How do we do succession planning in our communities? How do we keep our legacies alive? Because it seems like there's a gap.
Oh yeah,
between, because we're naming there are a few decades between these great people. So
I mean, we have to be unselfish enough to go. I think the man's house is less than $90,000. I mean, we can't find Black people to go buy the house. You know, I mean, we got to be able to do that. I mean, his house, brother, when it was built, it was considered like space age stuff, hidden driveways. You got to go out there, Greg, and see the house, man. I mean, it's still sitting there for sale. And Robbins.
Wow. I tell you, bro, that's why I started off this conversation with this whole piece about, and thank you about the secession question, because we have to begin to think just like that, because what I love is our perspectives are right in tune. We could, and it ain't even about agreeing to disagree. It's really about understanding, man, that in the mornings, when you listen to radio, they got Rush Limbaugh and O'Reilly, and they got, you know, those guys out there in space, but they gave us comedians. So we have comedians get paid a lot of money. And all you got to do is bring out the clowns to keep us laughing. So we ain't reading the articles or listening to people with seriousness. So you try to figure out what's so powerful about so-and-so, so-and-so. Nothing. They just market them, and they know that, guess what? We are so stuck on the boob tube that they can bring anybody in. After a while, you listening to them. That's your favorite so-and-so. And I'm only saying that is because we got so many things, bro, that keep us from 6 o'clock. Some of them shows come on at 6, 5 in the morning. And when you look up, Black people ain't made a bit of progress.
No.
And every day they on every day. Bring out the clowns because they are not directing people. The strawberry letter. I mean, ain't a damn relationship at all been solved by the strawberry letter. Why? Because it's entertainment.
And I think too, Brother Eric,
It's a joke.
Brother Eric, Sister Dorothy Lavelle has been drafted. She's made the president now of the National Black Public Association.
Really?
This is her second
she's
go
president of the entire
the
all
whole
200
organization
papers
across the country. So I think
she's in New York right
I
now.
think we need to really, tighten up our relationship with Dorothy Lavelle and this brother, because she can put it in 300 or 400 newspapers, whatever we do.
And what I like is that, on what he was saying is that if you read the Crusader newspaper last week, we had on the front a fist with all the Black media in Chicago, the Crusader, the Defender, the TBT, WVON, Indigo. And what had happened,
the final call.
And what had happened was that all these papers, they went to Mariano's over here in Bronzeville off 39th and King Drive, where Ida B. Wells Project used to be. Mariano's didn't want to advertise in the Black community. He didn't want to advertise in the Black press. But several publishers and Carl West did was that they brought a whole handful of newspapers that Mariano had advertised in other white newspapers. And they got together with two political leaders and they got down to the table and said, you will advertise with us. You cannot come in the Black community, open up shop, and not support the businesses that are here, that are feeding you, that are helping you make all this money. And they gave them an ultimatum. Either you do it or your store, your business gonna be on the front page of every Black media in Chicago.
Yeah, run them out. We should raise a bunch of them.
As a result, they nailed them down, and you will now see Mariano's ads in the Defender and the Crusader. You will hear spots on WVON. You'll hear it on TBT. You'll hear it was all because they came together as one huge voice, coalition, with a fist, and said, coalition. You know what? We are a force to be reckoned with. You just cannot come up in here and not do that.
Give Pat Dow the accolades for bringing them in.
That is the type of camaraderie and the unity of old, where you're not at each other's throats or you're not trying to be better than your brother or your sister.
Right.
But you realize this is a giant that we got to take down, that we're going to have to come together as one. And that is what the Black community is suffering right now. There's just too much discord and too much disunity. And there has been a disillusionment in the Black establishment because somehow the young, the millennials, feel like they've been failed. And that's where you have that gap that you're talking about. Whereas, how do you bridge that? How do you bring them back together? We had Chance the Rapper at Harold Washington Cultural Center on 47th and King Drive, made another huge announcement that he was going to donate $2.2 million to 20 schools, 20 Chicago public schools. And it's like, this young man has been in the media now for about 6-7 months. It's like, where are the old leaders? Where are the leaders? Hey, let's get behind them. Hey, let's do this. If a young person can make an example, a rapper can do something like this, where are the other great Black leaders?
Because they play Black people for fools, and they go behind closed doors. They write them a check. They bring them out there, and they know damn well they don't want to do that work. They really don't love Black people, because when you love Black people, you make the ultimate sacrifice, and you stop thinking about yourself. Some of them ain't gonna never come over here, because they know we can see through they BS.
I could have gave you.
But what I liked about it, though, the message was clear: is that the future of our young Blacks is more important than your ego.
That's right.
Than your pockets, than your wallets. This is the future of the Black community. Do you really want them to continue to lag behind? Do you really want them to fail? And the answer is no. I think if you really look at that and really consider, you know, what your actions of the present will mean in the future, I think you'll think twice.
I think I should run an ad in all those black businesses that you just named, Crusader and Indigo and all them, and say we have an alternative to Mariano's. 2423 75th Street, 325 South California, Central and Lake, 65th and Peoria. I mean, we don't have to beg people to do right by us. I mean, I read what Mariano said. They didn't advertise in any communities. And also, so after the 17-week covenant, what happens then with y'all? They said they only signed a 17-week contract.
They will be advertising all the way till December. Now, the challenge they gave the black media is that we need to see an uptick in the number of customers in our stores. Otherwise, we don't see any relevance. And
so it's like,
you know, then again, even that logic is flawed, because whether or not you get customers or not, you will do the same thing. If it was the Tribune, if it was the Sun-Times, if you don't see customers, you will still advertise with them. But to me,
no respect for us.
But see, the flaw is that it's not a question of how many customers we get. It's a question of the fact that you have a moral responsibility to give back to the community that's fattening your pockets.
You actually amoral people to do something moral.
Right.
They're not going to do it.
I slightly disagree in the sense that we've been in this country long enough to not depend on anyone else for anything. So what makes good business sense, make good business sense, right? Like, I think if they didn't see their stores in those communities underperforming, they wouldn't have even come to the table. And I'm saying that without having looked at their financials. You know, as a journalist, I got to give that disclaimer. Now, I could be wrong, but just using logic, they wouldn't have come to the table if they didn't need us, if they didn't need black media. So I don't want us to look at it as if they should give back and invest in us, when that is nothing a corporation should ever do, because they haven't done it since the inception of this country. So what we need to do is use those resources we have, either invest them and rebuild our business, create that new thing, et cetera, et cetera.
But see, and I gotta say this part. See, this is the thing. But see, this is the thing. This is the thing. I'm gonna respond to that. Let me give you an example. We had a developer who bought the historic Strand Hotel off 64th and Cottage Grove. He bought this hotel that had been there since Nat King Cole, Louis Armstrong, all these famous people who've been there. He bought it for $1.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
$1, got all these tax breaks and everything. And this is affordable housing. When they sell apartments lower than the market rate according to the person's income. We found out, and I found out in just doing the story, they had 63 units of these affordable apartments available. But after doing my digging, only 10% were actually affordable housing. These businesses like Mariano's, they come in and they get all these tax breaks.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
All of these tax breaks, tax incentives to open up. They have a moral, and I will say it again, a moral responsibility after being given so many breaks and so many perks of opening up in the black community. Yes, it may not seem on the surface business sense, but we're not talking about business sense, because if we were talking about business, it doesn't make sense to give a business all these breaks if they're not going to give back to the black community. That's not business sense either.
Yeah, I don't disagree. You know, I'm just saying that there's nobody black giving them the.
But how long are we going? How long are we going to be stuck? And the being stuck means here comes a little man from Georgia. From Georgia, with a 3rd grade education, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he said, let's do for self. We ain't getting along. We really fighting each other. Let's separate. Let us do what we need to do. And I know when people hear that, you mean separate from? No. We got a bad damn relationship. Right. It ain't going well. You greedy. You want to eat steaks and give us hot dogs. Let us do what we need to do for ourselves. That's what we're afraid of. And as long as we continue to think that it's going to be an even playing field, it's not designed that way. Pharaoh had to be told, let my people go. Some of us don't want to leave the plantation.
What did God do to Pharaoh to get his message to the people? He hardened his heart 19 times.
Damn.
Okay, so they give us a 17-week. They give us a 17-week contract. What they should have did, what you guys maybe should have did was said, if the damn numbers are lower than what you expect, don't come to us for no help. Because guess what we gonna do? We gonna tell people don't come in your store. That should have been the bargaining thing. I mean, they gonna say we're gonna see how the numbers go, and you know we're gonna check with y'all in 17 weeks. Like Jules gives us Save-A-Lot because they own Save-A-Lot, and they give them the other people Jules. Aldi's gives us Aldi's, but Trader Joe's they take to the north side. Kroger's has Kroger Foods, but food for less for us. What Kroger's is doing right now, Dominique, is every time Mariano signs a 100-year lease like they got in that building, Kroger's buys the building, and then Mariano's in turn leases the building from Kroger's. Brother, Mariano's did what? 15 billion. Kroger's did 90 billion last year. And so what they smart enough to say, you know what? Don't want to. We got this lease, but we're gonna keep it in the grocery store business. We're gonna lease this Mariano's right now as we speak. They just did Downers Grove. They did the place in Bronzeville. Kroger's bought the building, right? Mariano's already got the tax break to build it, and leased it back to Mariano's.
Damn.
And so Kroger's, and so these big grocery store chains, bro,
conglomerate,
they not playing.
Greedy.
They save a
what
lot.
About Amazon and Whole Foods? What is that?
Well, you're gonna see.
They say they price.
You're gonna see the quality of that food go down now, because Amazon is about making money, and so it
won't be organic. It'll just have the name on it.
It'll have. They're just gonna tell you we're gonna lower the prices, but they ain't going through the stuff. Allegedly, Whole Foods they don't buy anything that has to travel over 100 miles. Allegedly, and they say they don't spray. That's a lie. Everything has to be sprayed at least for viruses, because you can have a virus in your greens. So even if it says that it's organic, it's still sprayed at least once or twice. They have to. They have to spray it, Greg.
Ooh, Lord.
The only reason that black people called their food organic, because black people couldn't afford to have it sprayed. So black people used the tricks and the knowledge of the farmers so to keep things out, in particular to keep deer and other animals off the crop. They just took tiger poop that they bought from the zoos and put it around their farms. And guess what? The deers wouldn't come near it, and the wild turkeys wouldn't, because of the tiger poop. They thought it was tigers around there. And so even if you call it organic, it still has to be sprayed. And if it rains, it really has to be sprayed.
You just pissed off some people who just bought some organic produce from Whole Foods, and they was like, I've been tricked
at least twice.
I've been hoodwinked.
Oh yeah.
I've been bamboozled.
Because you can't sell it, Greg. I can't sell a blueberry unless I can prove to the processing plants that I sprayed them. And I have to take my sheets up there and say, I sprayed this day, this day, this day, this day. Guess what? I can still call them organic.
Wow. See, and that's the kind of organic truth that we need. And that's why they say, ye shall know the truth and it shall make you free. That's what we're not getting. We're not getting enough of that. And so our community is led astray. I swear, man, the new black leadership, by the grace of God, will be able to continue to do roundtables like this, so that we can have great journalists, compassionate, man, about these topics and not sugarcoat them.
Right.
Because our people, they deserve more than just some damn entertainment. They need conversation. And when you hear people playing that political game as though it ain't one bird, as you said, Brother Harold.
Exactly.
One is Matt Dillon, the other one is Bob Dylan. Right. One is Satan, the other one is Lucifer.
One is Republican, one is Democrat.
One is no, 6 in one hand and a half a dozen in the other. Man, I've enjoyed this conversation. It is one for the records, man. Thank you, brother. Thank you, brothers, for coming in, man. It has been such a blessing, such an honor.
For having
bro. All three of you all, awesome.
Thank you, Brother Mike, for having the tenacity and the patience for dealing with our people, man. Because trust me, Gray, it's hard, man. I don't know how Mike does it.
Me either.
But Mike is doing a tremendous job just bringing us in the room. And what we got to do is stop playing with it. If people ain't gonna put no money up, then we wasting our time.
That's why when people say they Christ-like and they connected to that entity, it's about
we can all make
it's about undying love,
equal sacrifices, Greg. If I got a dollar, I give a dime. You got 10, you give a dollar.
Absolutely.
We can all have. And until we take that and put that in our heads that we got to pay for our stuff, brother.
Thank you, brother. Domiti Pongo.
Thank you.
Boy, I love that name.
I love it every single time.
Brother Eric
I
Johnson.
can't pronounce it. T-Pongo.
Domiti Pongo, and it means something powerful. With a name like that, you go and pull it up, it's like son of a king. A ruler. Thank you, brother Harold Davis, the butt naked truth, undisputed truth. Thank you, brother Earl Winfrey, our hero right here.
Congratulations, brother. Congratulations, brother Earl.
Here we go again. Round and round and round.